Hi guys, how's it going? This is Siri Nolula, and today we're going to be talking about the different types of methods that you would find in object-oriented programming in Python. Okay, so the types of methods in object-oriented programming in Python. Alright, so just like the variables that you would find in OOP in Python, there are instance methods, there are class methods, and there are static methods. And if you aren't really familiar with instance variables, static variables, and local variables, I would go back to the video on the different types of variables in object-oriented programming in Python, and hopefully this video would make a little bit more sense. Okay, so why don't we start off by talking about instance methods. So instance methods are methods that just basically have like instance variables inside it, right? So in instance variables, if you need a little refresher, are variables that change from object to object, like the values of the variables. The values of the same variables change from object to object. Okay, and if those variables are inside a method, then that method would be considered an instance method. And we always need to pass in the self variable inside that method. Okay, and let's just do a little example, maybe like class person. Okay, we're defining an init method, special method, takes in self. Let it take a name and place as well. Okay, so we're just going to say that self.name equals name. Okay, so the value of whatever the user inputs in when they're creating the object is what the name variable is going to be equal to. So it changes, right, based on every object. So that's why we're saying that the value of name that is associated with the current object self is going to be equal to name. Okay, and this is the name that we just passed in there. Okay, so self.name equals name, self.place equals place, and you can use whatever name you want. You don't need to use the same name here and the same name there, or the same place, right? So, okay, cool. We're going to do that for now. So self.name equals name and self.place equals place. That's our constructor. And we're just going to define a method. Okay, self called display. We're going to print hi self.name. So if they passed in Julia, we would say hi Julia, right? And we're going to print actually, instead of display, let's call this introduction. Okay, so that's an instance method, okay, because it has the variable self and we're using it in there. Okay, so this name, the self.name, is going to be changed from object to object. Okay, and let's define maybe like hometown or home country or whatever. Okay, this is also going to be an instance variable because an instance method, right? Hometown is an instance method. Introduction is an instance method because we have the variable self. Okay, so if about let's not make it too complicated. We'll just say you're from this place, self.place. I've always wanted to go there, or I've always wanted to visit wherever. We'll just call this country, or where you're from. I'll just say where from. Okay. Okay. And now we're gonna say that n is gonna be equal to the number of people who want to say hi to me. And why don't we print hello say my name is I'll just say good morning. Again, we're going to print hello. So for every object that we create, it's going to print hello. Okay, so n equals the input of however many people want to say hi to me. How many people want to say hi to me? Okay. And then we're just going to say for I in range n plus 1. Okay. We're going to say that name equals input. What is your name? We're going to say place equals input. Where are you from? And if you need a little refresher on what for loops are or what input and output statements are, feel free to check out the other video on input and output statements and for loops and while loops. Okay, so where are you from? Okay, and we're going to say that P equals person. So we're going to create a new person object every time we go through this for loop. Okay, and we need to pass in name to place, right? Okay, and we're going to say, and this is, I'm not passing in any specific arguments here because that's what the input and output statements are. Okay. So this is the name here. This is not self.name, this is different. This is just the name in the for loop. Okay, so whatever name is passed into the for loop, right, the input statement, is what I'm going to put here. And this name is going to go back to the class person, and then we're going to run this code. Okay, so we're going to run p.introduction, and we're going to run p.where are you from. Okay, and we're just going to print an empty line so that it's more readable when we actually execute the code. Okay, so how many people want to say hi to me? Let's say that 3 people want to say hi to me. Okay, what's your name? Say Lila. Where are you from? From Massachusetts. Hello, good morning, Lila. You're from Massachusetts. I've always wanted to visit Massachusetts. Okay, so what's your name? Let's say Tara. Where are you from? Say she's from India. She said, good morning. Hello, good morning, Tara. You're from India. I've always wanted to visit India. What is your name? Let's say Diana. Say she's from France. Say, hello, good morning, Diana. You're from France. I've always wanted to visit France. For some reason. Okay, so this is going to go from 0 to n. Okay, if you wanted to actually see, if we were printing out the numbers, then we would do n plus 1, because you would only see 0 to whatever number you want to. Whatever number n is. Okay, so what is your name? Okay, I'll just say the two people want to say hi. Lila, she's from France. Say Diana, from Spain. Okay, so two people. Okay. So this would be considered the 0th element, and this would be considered the first. If you actually wanted to see the number 2, you would need to put in n plus 1, because you see 0, 1, and 2. But they're actually 3 elements, if you passed in n plus 1. Okay, cool. So we talked about instance methods. Now, let's talk about class methods, okay? So, if you are only going to be using class variables, okay, inside the method implementation, so whenever you execute the method, then you are going to declare these methods as class methods. And you declare class methods explicitly by using the class method decorator. So I think I mentioned it briefly in my other video on types of variables and oops in Python, right? So we're going to use the @class method. And you know how we use self for instance methods? We're going to use the variable CLS, okay? And I'll talk about it in just a couple of seconds. Okay, so we're going to define a class named animals, or animal. So we're going to say that legs equals 4. Okay, this is not in any method. Okay, so this is going to be a static static variable. Okay, so we're going to say def walk, right, because animals can walk. And we're going to pass in CLS, the name of the animal. Okay, and we're going to print an F string. Okay, just string formatting. And we're going to say name walks with CLS.legs. Okay. It's a variable inside the class, right? And walks with these many legs. Or has those many legs, right? So, and we're gonna say animal.walk. Okay, animal is the name of the class. We're gonna pass in dog. Right, okay, and here I'm supposed to put in class method. We're defining it as a class method. Okay, so now it's a class method, and now we're passing in dog as the name, okay? And then this is referring to the entire class. This is pointing to the entire class. You know how self always pointed to the current object? Well, now class is pointing to the, CLS is pointing to the entire class. So legs belongs to the entire class. It doesn't belong to any method, right? Well, this is a class method. It doesn't belong to, like, the object itself, right? The value doesn't change based on the object. Okay, the name does, because that's what we're passing in. And here we're only passing in animals that have 4 legs. Okay, maybe cat. Okay, cat walks with 4 legs. All right. Cool. So the difference between static methods and class methods. Okay, so we're going to be talking about static methods right now. And the difference is that static methods are utility methods. Okay, and this will make more sense in a couple minutes. Okay, so we're going to define a class name to math. We're going to say at static method. We're going to define a function called add. Takes in x and y. We're going to print the sum is x plus y. We're going to define another static method. We're going to define product x comma y. Okay, I didn't mean to run that just yet. Okay, we're printing the product is x times y, x multiplied by y, and another static method, and we're going to call it average. Okay, finds the average of both x and y. And let's get an integer. Let's do floor division. So if there was only 1, you would get a decimal float. Here you're just going to get an int. Okay. And we're not creating an object. Okay, we're going to say math.add. Okay, 10, 20. Math.product, 10, 20. Math.average, 10, 20. Okay, the sum is 1. Okay, the sum is 30, the product is 200, and the average is, okay, not 1, it's 2. I mean, it's 15. Sorry. Okay, cool. And okay, so static methods are general utility methods. Okay, we're not going to use any instance variables or class variables inside them. Okay, so we don't use CLS and we don't use self. Okay, that's a pretty major thing in static methods. And you're going to use the static method decorator. Okay, and you can access static methods by using a class name or by object reference. So if we were to say that m equals math, okay, and then we're going to do m.add, let's add 8 and 7, we get the sum is 15, okay? Cool. And the main difference between static methods and class methods is that static methods, they're not typically meant to create or instantiate objects, but they may contain some sort of logic that relates to the class itself. Okay, so it's like a utility, right? It's like a helper. And the main purpose of static methods is to execute logic, okay, that you need for the class, but that logic should not require any of the specific class or instance information, right? So you see we didn't use any class variables here. We just we just added two regular parameters here, and then same here, same with this x and y, same with this x and y. These are all static methods. Okay, you don't need any specific class variables or instance variables or any of that sort of data. Okay, whereas in class methods, right, we use specific class variables such as like the legs equals 4. That's a class variable and we're using it here. Okay. Okay. And just a quick side note, usually programmers, they only use instance and static methods. Okay. Inside static methods, you can access class level variable names. Class level variables by using the class name. Okay. And class methods, they're not used a lot in Python. They're rarely used methods in Python. Yeah, so usually we're just going to be dealing with instance and static methods.